The tension was palpable. Pam Bondi, seated at the prosecution table, felt a chill run down her spine. She had spent months building this case, poring over financial records, witness testimonies, and encrypted communications. Every night, she had pored over documents until her vision blurred, determined to bring Harrington to justice. She had thought she knew every angle, every secret. But the look in the defendant's eyes, cold, calculating, almost amused, told her she was missing something big, something that could flip everything upside down. The judge, a stern woman with a reputation for no-nonsense rulings, narrowed her eyes. "Mr. Harrington, if this is another attempt to delay these proceedings, I assure you it won't work." Her voice was sharp, cutting through the hushed murmurs of the courtroom like a blade. Pam had seen her preside over countless cases, always maintaining firm control. But today, for the first time, the judge's authority seemed to waver. Just slightly. Harrington smiled, a slow, deliberate curl of his lips. "Oh, I'm not delaying anything, Your Honor. I'm simply offering a revelation." He turned to face the gallery, his gaze sweeping over the reporters, the jurors, the spectators. He paused for effect, his confidence unwavering. "You see, this case isn't about justice. It's about control. And if you think I'm the one pulling the strings, you're sorely mistaken." Pam's mind raced. She had heard this kind of rhetoric before, defendants trying to shift blame, create confusion. But there was something about Harrington's tone, his calculated smugness, that made her uneasy. He wasn't bluffing. She glanced at her team, their faces mirroring her own uncertainty. She could feel the weight of the moment pressing down on her shoulders. The judge leaned forward, her voice firm. "Mr. Harrington, if you have evidence to present, now is the time. Otherwise, I suggest you sit down." Harrington's smile widened. "Oh, I have evidence, Your Honor. But I don't think you're ready for it." He reached into his pocket, moving slowly, deliberately. Every eye in the room locked onto his hand as he pulled out a small USB drive and held it up like a trophy. "This contains everything: emails, bank transfers, names of people in this very room." The courtroom erupted. Reporters scrambled for their cameras, jurors exchanged panicked glances, and even the bailiffs seemed unsure of what to do. Pam stood abruptly, her chair scraping against the floor. Her voice cut through the noise. "Your Honor, I move to have that evidence submitted immediately. If Mr. Harrington has information relevant to this case, it needs to be examined." The judge hesitated. A flicker of something, fear, doubt, hesitation, crossed her face. Pam narrowed her eyes. Was she nervous? For whom? Finally, the judge nodded. "Very well. Bailiff, take the USB drive and ensure it's properly logged into evidence." As the bailiff approached, Harrington held up a hand. Not so fast. This isn't just for you, Your Honor. This is for everyone." He turned to the gallery, holding the USB drive aloft, like a relic of some dark truth. "This is your wake-up call. The people you trust, the systems you rely on, they're all part of this. And if you think locking me up will change anything, you're in for a rude awakening." Pam's heart pounded. She had seen defendants try to grandstand before, but this was different. Harrington wasn't just trying to save himself. He was trying to expose something that could bring down more than just a few powerful individuals. Was it possible he was telling the truth? No. It had to be a manipulation tactic. It had to be. The bailiff took the USB drive, and the courtroom fell silent once more. The judge leaned back in her chair, her expression unreadable. "We'll take a recess to review this new evidence. Court is adjourned for 1 hour." As the room emptied, Pam stayed behind, her mind racing. She had always believed in the system, in the idea that justice could prevail no matter how powerful the opponent. But Harrington's words had planted a seed of doubt. What if he was right? What if this case was just the tip of the iceberg? She pulled out her phone and dialed a number. I need a full background check on everyone involved in this case. Judges, jurors, even the bailiffs. And I need it yesterday. The voice on the other end hesitated. Pam, that's a lot of people. What are you looking for? She took a deep breath. I don't know yet, but something tells me we're about to find out. An hour later, the courtroom was back in session. The judge entered, her face grim. We've reviewed the evidence submitted by Mr. Harrington, she began, her voice steady but heavy. And I must say it's troubling. Pam's stomach dropped. She had expected resistance, maybe even a dismissal, but the look on the judge's face told her this was far worse. The judge continued. This evidence implicates not only Mr. Harrington but several high-ranking officials, both within and outside this courtroom. As such, I have no choice but to declare a mistrial. The room exploded. Reporters shouted questions, spectators gasped, and Harrington simply smiled, as if he had known this would happen all along. Pam stood, her voice rising above the chaos. Your Honor, with all due respect, a mistrial only serves to protect those who are guilty. If this evidence is as damning as you say, it needs to be made public. The people deserve to know the truth. The judge met her gaze, and for a moment it seemed like she might agree. But then she shook her head. Miss Bondi, I understand your frustration, but my hands are tied. This case is over. As the gavel fell, Pam felt a surge of anger. She had spent her career fighting for justice, for the idea that no one was above the law. But now, sitting in that courtroom, she couldn't help but wonder, was the system itself broken? Later that evening, Pam sat in her office, the USB drive on her desk. She had managed to secure a copy before it was locked away, and now she stared at it, her mind racing. What was on it? Names, transactions, proof of a conspiracy that went deeper than she could imagine. She plugged it into her computer, her fingers trembling slightly. The folder opened, revealing dozens of files. She clicked on the first one, and her heart stopped. It was a video of a meeting held in a dimly lit room. Around the table sat faces she recognized, politicians, judges, even a few law enforcement officials. And at the head of the table, smiling as if he owned the world, was Harrington. The audio was crisp, every word clear. Gentlemen, Harrington began, we've built an empire, but empires require protection. And that's where you come in. Pam's hands clenched into fists. She had always known the system was flawed, but this was corruption on a scale she had never imagined. She picked up her phone and dialed a number. It's me, she said when the line connected. We need to talk, and bring everyone you trust. This is bigger than any of us. As she hung up, she stared at the screen, the video still playing. Harrington's voice echoed in her mind. Empires require protection, but so did justice.